Brought to you by Cobra Joe Productions. I'm your oldies DJ Rockin, Rich Bedford, with you till 3 o'clock this afternoon. Joe, thank you very much for not only perfect weather, but a great festivities here. Great festivities, nice turnout, and a fantastic venue for a car show. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I appreciate everybody coming out. I also want to thank Steve. What a gentleman. Knowledgeable like you wouldn't believe.
Well, everybody's just having a blast with Steve. Let me give him the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Southern California, the creator and the fabricator of so many cool cars that you've seen on the big screen, the little screen, and every screen in between. A big round of applause for our very special guest today, Mr. Steve Strope, everybody, right here.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to get to all the Fast and Furious stuff and everything in just a little bit. Yeah, see, I knew he was going to be like this.
That's not that big of a deal.
It's a big deal.
No.
I think it's really cool.
Fine.
It is cool, though. Will you say it's cool?
Well, yeah, we had fun. Actually, those. Well, we can get to that in a minute.
All right,
we'll get to that in a minute.
Hey, listen, this is very low key. When you're sitting in a parking lot talking to guys and stuff, very low key.
You know how many parking lots of cars that I've sat in and I continuously go and sit in constantly. It's my other home for sure.
I bet. But the way you're walking around checking out these cars and everything, I can definitely see you right at home, and you're in all your glory here. And so are we. We're so happy that you took the trip. I know it's a long one to get here, but you've made everybody's day here today. We've talked about this show and just couldn't wait, and we're so glad that you decided to join us today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's neat. I haven't been in Florida in probably about 3 or 4 years. The last time they had PRI here before they moved it back up to Indy. So that was the last time I was in Florida. So.
What do you think of all this glorious humidity that we stockpile here for the next 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, thanks. I'm from upstate New York, so and my grandparents used to live in Orlando, so I have memories of sweating.
Well, here's the crazy thing about Orlando, though. Orlando is very hot in the summertime, but on the other hand, you couldn't ask for. I mean, listen, you've been upstate New York, but it's cold in Orlando in the wintertime too.
Yeah.
When you go to that cruising that they have and stuff up there in the winter, it's cold, but.
What's your definition of cold, actually?
Low 30s.
Oh, okay, that's cold.
That's pretty chilly. But we don't have any worries of 30-degree weather today.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I don't think there's any sign of 30 anything on a thermometer.
Well, we're all kids today because all you got to do is say Fast and Furious, and that you're going to be here signing posters. And people were over at the tent getting posters signed and shaking hands. That's really cool. We appreciate that very much. You made our day. So. Thanks for being such a gracious guest. Like I said, you made our day. It's awesome.
No sweat. Thanks. It was a lot of fun. Those were actually the different people that were involved with the movies actually called us and asked to use a couple of cars that we had already built. Mm-hmm. They wanted one for the end of Tokyo Drift for Vin Diesel's comeback scene. They used the car that we had built called Hammer. And then in 4, they used it again. And a Torino we had done. And then in 6, they used a Mustang we did, which is the Mustang that gets ran over by the tank.
Right.
Which was heart-stopping. When they sent me photos of of course, there were about 6 stunt double cars built, because the original car is about 600,000 into that car. So when they sent me the first shots of the tank rolling over, even with the fake car, I'm like, oh, it just kills you seeing it crushed. But, man, that's the movies.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you, too, because when you see these cars on film, you put a lot of work into these cars. There's a lot of imagination and creativity.
Yeah.
How, do they make more than one car?
Yeah.
How do they do that?
Well, a good friend of mine, Dennis McCarthy, is the main guy who puts together all those crazy stunt cars and different cars that are in all the Fast Furious movies. And like the end of Tokyo Drift, the car that Vin Diesel is driving is indeed Hammer. That is not a stunt double. That is the car that we built.
The car.
That is the car. We were doing the burnouts with the car.
And you cringed.
No, I said, have at it. Well, we built a good car, so I got together with the stunt drivers and I said, do this and this, don't do that. You can light it up all you want. So, but for the scenes in 4, they used stunt doubles because they actually rolled and wrecked. So they were copies of the real car.
You can correct me if I'm wrong if you know the history on this, just to think back a little bit. When they used to make the show that had the General Lee in it, and I don't even Dukes of Hazzard.
Actually, Sean, a couple of friends of mine, their dad made the General Lees that got right. There were about 200 of them that got totaled, unfortunately.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They didn't have any stunt doubles back then. They gobbled up every Dodge Charger that they could and wiped out every Dodge Charger from here to Los Angeles.
They cleaned out a lot of 69 Dodge Chargers. They would actually use 8s and set all the bodies themselves on the Charger, 68 through 70 from the cowl back is the same car. So they would just use 8 front ends.
Crunch them up
or 9 front ends. I'm sorry, 9 front ends, and whatever they could salvage off a wrecked one, they'd put on the other one. So there, a lot of those are really pop riveted together Bondo machines with orange paint over them. So they tried to recycle as much as they could, but unfortunately, they went through about 200 Chargers.
Of those. Boy, wouldn't we like to have we don't need all 200, but to like to have a handful of them right now, that would be awesome.
Yeah, Shannon's a friend of mine that owns a company called Redline Gauge Works that does all our custom gauges. His family was very involved with the General Lees and that stuff, and a lot of the shooting areas where they filmed it.
But we've come a long way since that day in how we shoot vehicles.
Yeah, but they're still, you know what, when they built the stunt doubles of, say, the white Anvil Mustang, they were clapped out old 69 Mustangs that they threw tons of Bondo on and all the rest, but they were Mustangs getting absolutely creamed by that tank.
Shine them back up and get them back out there.
It was amazing watching that tank. There was no CG to it. That tank would roll over a car and spit it out like it was rolling over an acorn.
So it is what it is. What you see is what you got.
Oh yeah, that wasn't CG. That was them literally just rolling over cars at 40, 50 miles an hour.
Wow.
It's kind of scary actually because it's out of control when that stuff happens. So they were filming all that overseas. The cars spent about 4 months overseas filming. So a lot of craziness. Movies are a lot of fun to make and a lot of sitting around and waiting, and then a lot of fun when it's happening. I've done a lot of filming, and there's a lot of sit around and wait, and then do your thing for 10, 15 minutes, and then a lot of sit around and wait.
So you go back to the commissary, or they have like a brake truck over there you enjoy? And then...
you go to the craft truck and hang out, or you sit and talk with people. Out of Fast 3, there's a character named Han, who a real cool guy in the movie, just ate the peanuts, kicked back. He wound up being a very, very good friend, and we say hi now and then. We've gone to some stuff together. So we just sit and have a coffee or whatever.
And wait.
Sit and talk. Yeah, we just wait. Oh, yeah, and wait.
And wait some more.
Gotta wait. And then, so I got to do that. And then I've done a bunch of different TV shows, which were fun, but sometimes you're trying to work, and they're like, oh, do that again. I'm like, I don't want to do that again. And they film me putting gas in the car, like, that's exciting. Yes, isn't this thrilling? Check this out. Yes, never seen this before, filming a car with gas. So there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens with filming, and I also I had a radio program with Carcraft Magazine for a while. That was a lot of fun. And so I've been very fortunate to do a lot of that neat entertainment stuff along with I'm the luckiest guy in the world that I get to build cars. I do. I grew up playing with every toy I had, modifying and tinkering with BMX and then motorcycles and then cars and race cars, and I'm a fortunate individual who gets to do this for a living. Sometimes I don't feel that way because
of course
running a business is running a business, and that's not fun. But when we get to build the cars and go to shows and hang out and meet everybody, that definitely is cool. And a reminder to everybody, I make sure I thank any military personnel because those guys are watching bullets go by their heads. So I can sit and tinker around with a shiny old car. So anytime military's in an airport or a restaurant or anywhere, I say thank you because I get to do this for a living because somebody else is willing to do a much more crappy job than me.
No doubt about it.
Thank you to any military that's here, by the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your service. Anyway, also, what struck me by surprise, Adam Carolla's a car guy, and he's a good buddy of yours. Adam's a car guy?
Adam is a car lunatic.
I never knew that.
He has a lot of Paul Newman race cars. He's restored, and he's actually, please don't hate me, Adam, they're going to be coming out with an amazingly done that Adam's producing and doing a documentary on Paul Newman with people in it like Robert Redford. I mean, it's an amazing documentary that's going to be coming out.
Well, that's awesome. We look forward to that.
He's got a grip load of extremely cool cars. Has my favorite car on the planet, not one, but he has 2 Lamborghini Miras. Thank you.
Two of them.
Two of them.
What do you need two for? Just because you can have
Because the
them,
one's
just
at the
because you-
Peterson Museum, so you got to have another one to look at, you know. So
Why not?
He's got a lot of really cool older race cars for sure. A lot of neat sports cars, and he has me on his program now and then to say hi. He's not very far from me at all, and he's a very, very down to earth, very cool guy.
And when he drinks that beer, going way back, him and Jimmy Kimmel used to drink a lot of beer on television. We know he's a cool guy right off the tip.
Yeah, and he's an ex-contractor. You know, guys.
I know that part.
Yeah, he's got a new TV show that's about that too.
That's awesome. Now, just off the top of my head now, is Adam friends with Jay Leno? Now, I think these guys could sit around and talk cars and stuff all day long. Now, are those two guys kind of close, or not at all? Go ahead.
It's
just amongst us.
I honestly do not technically know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I don't. I see Jay and we talk at shows. Jay is a dyed-in-the-wool.
He's a car
automotive nut job.
Yeah.
He is exactly what everybody would like to be. He's a guy who went out and made a lot of money on his own and went and bought all the cars he always wanted. He used to be if I remember right, he was a Mercedes-Benz mechanic.
Is that?
He's a very hands-on guy. He can work on almost anything that's in his garage, but at Big Dog, that's his private garage, he has guys that work for him.
He's got his own guys.
Yes, he does. He has his own full-time crew.
Setting up his own cars.
Yes, he does. But he can go in and enjoys going in and working on them. He's a really, really cool, down-to-earth guy. He shows up at different shows around SoCal, and the shame is he gets swamped.
Yeah.
But if it happened to be a small show like this, if he showed up, he would sit and talk with anybody and just talk cars, and he's extremely down to earth and a very, very pleasant guy, and definitely a gearhead. Gasoline definitely flows.
He kind of seems that way. Like when you see these people on television or in the movies, you kind of get an opinion right off the top, like who you could go up and say hi with and have a beer with, and who you couldn't. And he seems like a kind of guy that you could definitely.
He's extremely cool and very knowledgeable. Like I said, he can hands-on a lot of stuff. He can work and tinker on stuff and understands what's going on. And he drives around. They show him on TV shows, and you wonder if he just did that for the show. I used to live in an area called Studio City, where there's a known street called Ventura Boulevard. There's a Kookaroo Chicken, which is a little restaurant.
Right.
I used to see him once a week in that Kookaroo Chicken. I'd say, "Hi, Jay," and he'd be driving something different every day. He drives that old Stanley Steamer thing. He drives that crap. He drives them without cameras following him around, without a show. He brings out a different car. I got reprimanded because we did work for Mattel. I used to do work for Mattel, and we were doing a Jay Leno set, or they were doing the set at the time. I wasn't involved with that one, but a comment was made of, "Wow, your collection's awesome." And he goes, "This is not a collection. This is a fleet."
A fleet?
They are driven.
Oh.
That was his reprimanding. He goes, "This isn't a collection.
These
They
are
all
real
get,
cars.
These all get driven. These get used." He takes his motorcycles out. His cars get out. He's definitely a car guy. He's extremely cool.
That's awesome. I kind of had that feeling. Well, let's go way back to the beginning. I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit, but you're a New York transplant.
Yes, I am.
Now, I'm from New York as well, but I'm a Long Island guy. I don't
Clink.
think... Oh, yeah, hey, let's tip a few after the show. No, but I'm from Long Island. You're from upstate New York originally?
Yeah, small little farm town called Appalachian. One red light still.
Is that near Brewster? I used to spend
Near
summers
Binghamton.
Okay, I know Binghamton.
About 15 miles away from Binghamton.
Mighty cold in the wintertime.
Yes, horribly.
Okay, now how old were you when you got to escape the Binghamton area?
I moved to California in, I got to do some math. I moved to California in March of '95. So I was probably like, I don't know, 25 years old or so.
So where do you, in between all that time, where do you get your inspiration from? How did you know that this is what you wanted to do? What was your first little project that says, you know, this is kind of working out, I got some talent here, I love it? Where do you get that break? Where does that inspiration come from?
I've never even thought that I've got some talent here.
Well,
I just
come on now.
I swing, at a pinata, and sometimes I break it open. I started modifying and changing every toy I had. Every toy got twinked with, modified. My AFX cars got the motors rewound with more armatures, had different slicks on them to change everything. Lots of model car building.
I was just getting ready to say, so the way the model kit car came in the box, that's not the way it ended up when you put it together.
Never. Then that went to bicycle motocross, went to motorcycle motocross, went to hanging out with, luckily for me, guys in my neighborhood 3 of them raced short track little NASCAR stuff, so stick welded old, Chevelles with small blocks in them. Hung out around that. Also motocross, speedway, motorcycle racing. Good friends of mine was an East Coast champion, so I hung around him. So a lot of that.